This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for February 29th, 2024. This is season 13, episode 27 of the Power Play Post Show. And this is episode 412 of the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. I am your host, Bob Howard. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Glad to have you on. And if I sound a little not so normal, it is because I am sick. I do have for the first time in the 4 years, I have the COVID-19. So I do apologize if I sound a little funny, if I have to clear my throat just a little bit. I'm going to keep my portion here kind of short. There are some important things we need to talk about, but I have a great interview with Liam Anderson from the Binghamton Black Bears, so I'm very excited about that. So let's get right into it. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show and share with any of your friends who obviously like hockey and FPHL hockey and or Binghamton Black Bears hockey. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, Binghamton Black Bears defenseman Liam L.A. Anderson. So really enjoyed my time talking with Liam. Really nice guy. L.A. is very, very cool. You know, L.A. and I have never talked until today. But a couple times at the arena, he knows who I am, and he said hello, calls me by my name. So really appreciate that. LA, without a doubt, makes a difference. You know, every time I talk to these guys, I find each time how really just good people they are. You know, and that Brant Sherwood has really put together a really character-based team with a lot of character that's just really good. So this weekend, they only have one game. Preview of one game this weekend with Elmira River Sharks on Friday in Elmira. Friday's game is selling out very well. I think it could potentially be a sellout. It depends, but the one picture I saw earlier today, it looked like it was selling really well. Now, they haven't had a lot of luck with selling tickets there in Elmira this year. So to have something well over 3,000 and close to their sellout would be very good for, obviously, the River Sharks. The Black Bears are 6-1-1 against the River Sharks this season. This will be the 9th game of the season series. I believe it's 14 this year. The Black Bears won the last game in Elmira on February 14th, Valentine's Day, by the score of 10-2. In that game, Connor Smith scored 4 goals, 3 goals in the last 3 games as well. So he's in his last 4 games, he's now scored 7 goals. So Connor Smith is doing real well. He's on a very good run. Big question will be who starts in goal, Connor McAnanama or Nolan Egbert. Nolan played and won the last 3 games for the Black Bears this last weekend. As we all know, the Sam Levecchi had been released from the team. River Sharks are 19% on the power play, 76% on the penalty kill, compared to the Black Bears, 82% on the PK and 29% on the power play. I think that's ranked 3rd right now, but they've scored more power play goals than anybody in the league. And I would put their power play up against anybody in the league at this point. Stephen Klink leads the River Sharks with 20 goals and 27 assists in 31 games played. He's had a really good season. You know, you got to really give it up to Stephen Klink. He's a little bit of a feisty player, as well as being able to score goals and set up his other teammates. David Giada is also having a nice season with 18 goals and 20 assists in 33 games played. We have seen Sammy Bernard. He is 11-11 with a 362 goals against average. and a .909 save percentage. However, the River Sharks traded for, and I wonder if we'll see Frankie McClendon, a very good goaltender who is 7-3 this season, .360 goals against average, and a .902 save percentage. He's done most of that good work in Carolina. He was 6-1 for Carolina this season. He also played in Danbury a little bit, and he's only been in one game so far for the River Sharks. All right, so some roster movement. We've obviously seen a lot of this roster movement that's been happening. Let's start with they signed Peter Izzo out of college. They also released Jonas Lees, who came in last weekend but left. They also brought on Robbie Nelson Jr. He's a defenseman, so it's good to have someone like him here. And they released Steven Gerbis. They've also signed Cameron Clark to the team. That was announced earlier today. Looks like Cameron's got some decent numbers playing in the SUNY Axe system for Morrisville. Now, of course, the big conversation is Sam Levicki. Sam was released this weekend. We all know that more than likely they weren't going to be able to bring three goaltenders into the playoffs. The FPHL does not just it handcuffs general managers and or coaches in this league. With only only being able to have 19, just really not feasible. I'll talk more about this probably on Sunday with Sunday's show. Hopefully my throat and my voice and everything will be better by then. But Sam is a great guy. I got to talk to him. He's a part of our Power Play Post Show Facebook group. And I hope either he gets picked up by another team. I mean, he's got good numbers, 8-2 and 1 on the season, 3.55 goals against average, and an .893 save percentage. I mean, he did well for the team, and but really good guy, really works hard, and he's got one of the fastest glove hand that I've seen in a while. So I'm hoping good things for Sam Levicki. I'll talk a little bit more about this on Sunday as well. So that's it. Roster is all changed up. I think we'll see Cameron Clark this weekend, probably also Robbie Nelson Jr. And after the game on Friday, Gavin Yates will be able to return. So Gavin Yates will be back. He'll be done with the suspension. And the Black Bears will be able to dress 18 players instead of 17. They'll be able to dress 18 players again for the first time in 12 games. So that's a big thing. To be able to have, 10 forwards, 6 defensemen, and your 2 goalies, really good thing. All right. Before my voice gives away, or before I start hacking up along, which I do not want to do on the air, I do apologize once again. Hopefully, I will be feeling a lot better here within the next couple of days. Coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is Binghamton Black Bears defenseman Liam Anderson. We're going to end the show with that. I want to thank everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Rob Lapolis, our MC, and John Petitucci, our musical director. And, of course, coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is Liam L.A. Anderson. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buchinski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very excited to have this gentleman on. He comes to us from the Binghamton Black Bears, and he is one of their defensemen. He is Liam Anderson. Liam, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Bob, thanks for having me.
Now, I know it's probably pretty obvious that your nickname is LA and everything just because your name is Liam Anderson. before you got to here, and of course we have Jesse Anderson. I don't think anyone calls him J.A. But have you always had that nickname, or did that just happen here in Binghamton?
No, it just happened here in Binghamton. Growing up, my hockey nickname was the classic Ando or Andy.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And Jesse Anderson's nickname in the room is obviously Ando, and he's been here a lot longer than I have. So, actually, a funny story. It was after our very first home game against Elmira. I came to practice early. I was in the lounge, just I put a bagel in and coffee or whatever, and I was wearing an LA Dodgers hat, and Coach Sherwood was the one that kind of gave me the nickname. He's like, I'm going to start calling you LA. And he's like, I don't think it's going to stick, but I'm going to start calling you that anyway. And then here we are 5 months later, and
it's stuck.
That's my bona fide nickname around town.
Well, that's pretty cool. You know, LA, like I said, it works because obviously your name is Liam Anderson, so that works and everything.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious on that and everything because I got to be honest with you, LA is actually kind of the cool name, you know. I mean, a nickname. I've had worse, trust me, back in my day. So let's talk a little bit about growing up in Toronto. You grew up in East York, Ontario. Can you explain to the fans where East York kind of is? You know, like you said, it's a borough of Toronto. But explain a little bit about East York.
Yeah, so East York's this borough east of downtown Toronto. It's it's between downtown and Scarborough. It's not too big, not too small either. Honestly, it's just kind of a great neighborhood to grow up in. It's pretty culturally diverse, and funny enough, like growing up, every school I went to, I was able to walk to. You know, so I never had to drive to elementary, middle, or high school, and it's just kind of always been home. So
now
I always like to say the East York thing rather than Toronto.
Even though you are really basically in Toronto. What's interesting though is how close everything is together. There is so much to do. Can you tell me how is there a lot of ice rinks in East York, or is there? I mean, I got to imagine just in Toronto, just as a whole, there's a lot of ice rinks to be able to play at. But is there a lot in East York that you could walk to even?
Oh yeah, 100%. Actually, funny enough, when I played high school hockey, I live right down the street from the rink we practice at. So
oh wow,
we practice at 8. We'd practice at 8 in the morning. I'd wake up at 7:30, take my bag, walk down the street, and put my gear on and go out. And other than that too, there's a ton of outdoor rinks during the winter, and honestly, I'd probably say there's 5 or 6 rinks within a 10 to 15 mile radius of where I live.
Wow. So you could really get... Now, was it, being in Toronto, I got to imagine that maybe getting ice time was tough. Was it tough when you were young to find ice time?
No, it's... again, hockey's just super big in Toronto. There's a ton of organizations, so from house league to single A and double A and triple A. It's just kind of everywhere. So, no, not really.
No, so
not at all.
So getting ice time wasn't that a problem. When did you start? Was it the normal? Your parents put you on skates like my parents did with me when you were 3 years old, that type of thing.
Yes and no. Honestly, so I did start skating when I was 3.
Yeah.
And I loved being out there, but I hated the equipment. So I played my first year of hockey when I was 6.
Okay.
And absolutely hated it. And then the year after that, I would just go to the outdoor rinks and play shinny just with no equipment on. And
sure.
A year later, I was like to my dad, you know what? I'll try again and kind of see how it is. And just, played a year of house league when I was 8. And then once you turn 9 in Toronto, you have the opportunity to play rep hockey, which is single A, double A, and triple A, and just kind of rode it from there.
Now, when you were that young, was there any interest in any of the other sports, any baseball, football, or anything like that, maybe soccer?
Yeah, I was so my summer sport was soccer.
Okay.
I played up until I was 17. I think at one point, honestly, I was probably better at soccer than I was at hockey, but my Canadian heritage took me another direction.
Kind of took over and said, "Yeah, you're going to play hockey now." When you make the decision at 17 to really concentrate more on hockey than on soccer, what is that like? Is there a conversation with a coach, with your mom and your dad? How do you come to that conclusion that it's like time to not play soccer no more and just concentrate on hockey?
I think honestly it was just kind of a gradual thing. Like at that point, I was in my senior year of high school, and like I was playing midget AAA for the Toronto Titans, and then I was an AP for a junior B team. Mm-hmm. They're called the Thurl Blackhawks at the time, and I was playing like the equivalent to like AA rep soccer. So it just kind of took its course that I'd stick with hockey, and I was just more dedicated to it.
Can you explain to the fans how competitive youth hockey is in the Toronto area? I got to imagine that of all the cities in probably, Canada, we can include Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, Winnipeg. It's very competitive, right, when you're talking about within the city. But how competitive is it in Toronto, being the biggest city in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts because, again, like there's so many teams, but like the way people work around the rules it's kind of amazing. Like I'll give you an example. I think there's 12 teams in GTHL AAA.
Right.
So if you live within Toronto, you can play for any one of those 12 teams. But people like from outside Toronto buy houses in Toronto so they can count their kid like to not be like an import, because again, like those minor hockey leagues have import rules as well. And yeah, it's just like the way they have it set up that's so good, because the AAA loop plays like out of the same 3 or 4 rinks. Like you're going the same 3 or 4 rinks like every single weekend, and like most of those weekends or most of those rinks, I'll name them for you. It's like Scotiabank Pond, Westwood, Chesswood, and there's a couple more that are like multi-pad. So like you'd have like the same age group, same levels playing like at the same time. Just like it's just a really good league for like exposure, and that's just kind of like the hockey like hotbed of Ontario.
Now you played AAA hockey for a few years, and then obviously played junior hockey. How big of a difference is it to go from AAA to junior hockey?
I kind of took a different route playing junior hockey. Like, so after my last year in midget AAA, so you're 17 and to go to juniors, that's obviously 16 to 20, but the average kid would probably go, let's say, to the OJ when they're 18 and then play 3 years of junior. But in my case, I ended up playing in the GOJHL, which is the Junior B League.
Yeah.
So I played for the Welland Junior Canadians that year. Welland's just outside Niagara Falls. And it was kind of a unique league because, like, the top teams were, like, really, really good. Like, they would have, like, ex-OHL guys that were 20 years old getting paid under the table. And then on the flip side of things, you'd have, like, really weak teams where it was, like, you were beating them like crazy, and it was, like, worse hockey than midget AAA.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it was just kind of weird. Like, one night you'd be playing a really good team, and then the other night you'd be playing a team that's, like, kind of a joke.
Now, you made, in 2018, 2019, you were with Steinbeck, and then Cochrane. Can you talk a little bit about that year playing in those leagues?
Yeah, so obviously wanted to move up after playing a year at Junior B and doing fairly well. So I was going to stick around in the OJ, but I played a spring tournament with one of my buddies, and the head coach of the Steinbach Pistons, he's still there, his name's Paul Dick, came to Ontario, and he was interested in me, and it was kind of a cool decision because the year before they ended up winning the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, and they were at I forget what the championship's called. It used to be called the RBC Cup, but it's like the national championship for Canadian Junior A teams.
Right.
So it seemed like a pretty good opportunity to go and play for a really high-end organization and kind of get out of Ontario, because in Western Canada, teams don't charge kids to play. Huh. So it was when I went to Steinbach, I didn't pay anything to play junior there. But if I played for a team like the Toronto Junior Canadians or the Toronto Patriots, I probably would have paid anywhere close to $8 to $10,000.
Holy cow!
To play hockey.
I had no idea it was like that.
Yeah. So junior hockey in Canada is kind of weird like that. Different places are super different. Actually thinking back to it too, being in Steinbach was probably the closest to what it was kind of being here, in the fact where it's we have a really good fan base and community that support the team and kind of get the boys whatever they need to do to succeed. So, but yeah, anyway, so I went out there. I was there for 4 months. I played around 20 games. Being an older guy on the team in 19, at the time, I didn't necessarily play the expectations I had coming out of camp, so things didn't really work out for me there. So I ended up getting traded to Cochrane in the Noge, which at first I was pretty disappointed about it, but it ended up kind of being a blessing in disguise.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just I went to a place where logged a lot of minutes. Great group of guys who ended up hosting the Ontario Provincial Championships, and that was just kind of one of my really good hockey memories. And I ended up just developing more, and just I found my game that year just kind of being there.
Now, obviously, in all the time that you played junior, you kind of moved from a lot of different teams. It doesn't always happen that way. A lot of times players, they'll play 3 or 4 years, with the same junior team, or a good amount of time with the same amount of team. What did you learn about yourself? Not necessarily your game of hockey, but yourself, with all the moving around that you did before you went to SUNY Cortland.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, it's just I didn't really learn anything too deep about myself. It's just kind of hockey is a business, and you just no matter what happens, you always gotta just stay confident, believe in yourself, and just be a good person. No,
I've tried to explain that to people. When sometimes players get released, even with the Black Bears, I say, listen, hockey's a business. There are certain things that happen, and it's for sometimes the greater good, sometimes it's not, and it's just the way it is. And trades happen for a reason, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, 100%. It's nothing necessarily personal, but it's just it is what it is. I don't really know what else to kind of say about that.
No, absolutely. All right, so SUNY Cortland, obviously fans here in Binghamton know of SUNY Cortland and everything. Talk to me a little bit about your time, playing college hockey there. And you got a degree there, which, again, I love the fact that a lot of the players on this team have gone to college, gotten a degree, and so they're still continuing their hockey career, but at the same time, they've got something to fall back on. Talk to me a little bit about your SUNY Cortland time.
So I had a pretty unique experience there because my first year was a COVID year.
Yep.
So, again, I didn't even get to see the campus before I committed. I had to do like a FaceTime tour with the coach there, Joe Cardarelli. And, the first year we didn't play. So in mid-August, I got to campus and moved into my house just off campus. I had online school, and that was pretty much it. You know, everything was pretty much shut down. Like, the funny thing about that year was they made a schedule for second semester, and we were going to play 8 games, and then 2 weeks later they kind of shut everything down. And from what I can remember about that year, it was just you didn't play hockey and did online school and kind of drank a lot. You know, there wasn't really much else to do.
Right. No, I've talked to a couple guys who said that literally that year, because there was no hockey for them to play, they concentrated on studies. I see what you concentrated on, which is okay. I like it, which is very cool. You know, talk about the differences between D3 hockey and junior hockey, even the junior hockey that you came from. You know, again, it is a business in some cases where college hockey is not a business.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is it's like college coaches can pretty much have as many guys as they want, like, on their roster.
Yeah.
So it's not like juniors where it's like if things aren't working out, like, you're just not going to be there anymore. Like, you're not going to get cut or traded. You're just kind of there, you know? Like, I was fortunate enough, like, the 2 seasons I did play, like, I played a majority of games there, and, like, the hockey experience was, like, overall, like, a pretty decent one. But, like, you see kids that go to D3 colleges that just kind of don't play, and they're just practice players, you know, and you can't do anything about it unless you transfer or, like, you kind of quit. And at that point, it's just so much more than hockey, you know. It's like college, you got your education and your social life and, like, costs and all that stuff. So it's definitely different. And I'd say the other different thing too is, like, again, like, a season is only 25 games, so each and every game means so much more.
It does.
Like, it really does.
What about the type of play that is played, you know, in the SUNYAC system? Very physical game, correct?
Yeah, it's very physical and very fast. Like the top teams are, like, really good, like Plattsburgh, Geneseo, Oswego, like Cortland. This year they're actually playing in the final on Saturday, so shout out to them. They're doing great. It's just very physical, very fast, hard hockey, and it's just a little different too because some schools' ranks are a little smaller than others. Like, you look at a rink like Oswego, who has a full-size rink like we do, so it's a different game compared to, like, being at Alumni Arena at SUNY Cortland, where it's like you have this tiny neutral zone, and, like, the zones are big, but overall the rink's, like, kind of small.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, it's definitely a different game, though, that's for sure.
Tell us a little bit about how you got hooked up with the Black Bears.
Honestly, it's there's not much of a story. Like, so when I decided to graduate early, I didn't tell my coach at Cortland, Joe, that I wasn't going to come back until I knew for certain I was going to get my degree.
Right.
And I finished my last summer class at the end of August, early September. So I made sure I got my degree, everything was good, and then I told Joe I wasn't coming back. And then, I was just kind of without a place to play, and in the middle of September, I just sent Coach Sherwood an email, and then 20 minutes later, he called me, talked to me for like 45 minutes, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you an opportunity." He put me on a PTO, and now we're here.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. What was the thought process about getting your degree early?
Like being a Canadian kid, like, like living in the States is a little more expensive, in terms of like my parents paying for school. Like,
Sure.
Being in Cortland, I'm trying to remember, tuition was like $8,000 a semester, so 16, and then the house I lived in was like $4 grand, so that's another 8. So, like, when it came down to it, it was like, okay, well, I have my degree. I can avoid like another years of tuition and start my pro hockey career
A little bit sooner.
and be, a little bit sooner, because like the way I look at it now, it's like playing 2 years of D3 was great and all, but it's kind of like I've already been there, done that. Like, I don't know. For me, it was just kind of time to move on.
No, I understand. I understand. So you get the PTO, you show up to camp and everything. What did you think? Your first time in a pro camp and everything. What did you think when you first got here?
I don't know. Honestly, it was just all of it was just pretty good and positive. Like, I remember the first day, like walking in the locker room and just like being like astounded at how nice and big everything was, and like how friendly Jersey and Dylan were. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just all kind of good and positive. You know, I wasn't really like shell shocked or anything. I just kind of went out there and played my game, and just kind of whatever happens. You know, like I kind of like told myself like, okay, like you'd be a senior in college anyway this year. Like if you end up like being a suitcase, like whatever, like you're opening doors for yourself that you wouldn't have by being back in Cortland.
Right. Who was the first?
Yeah.
Who was the first player you got to talk with?
Well, like my first roommate here was Noah Robinson, who's in Baton Rouge right now.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to think of guys who are still here.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Yeah,
there's a couple guys that are obviously gone that were here at the beginning of the year. I think Noah Robinson, Noah Wild, a couple other guys, and everything.
Yeah, I'd probably say Fletcher or Stoner, because they're the two Calgary boys.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like, I'm from Toronto, but 90% of my family, like all my aunts and uncles, are from Calgary.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I've been out there a ton of times, and I really love Western Canada. And it's kind of funny. I always tell them, like, yeah, like I always like say, like I'm a fake, like Western boy, but you know, I'm just a kid from Ontario. But yeah, so I'd probably say those two guys from what I can remember.
Now, you've played with pretty much every defenseman on the team, D pairing wise. Is that more difficult, or is it good to get to know everybody that is going to be potentially on the ice, you know, for a D pairing situation, because you never know who you might end up on a line with, you know, at the end of a game or something like that. So you want to be comfortable, but you know. Or is it something where you like to be on the same line with somebody as much as possible?
No, I'd say it's kind of good being able to kind of play with everyone, because just getting to know your teammates and like where they are and like how they respond to different communication and stuff like that is definitely a good thing, because again, it's like things get like rumbled up, like guys get hurt or sick or whatever. So I think just kind of being able to adapt to any situation is probably a good thing. And again, it helps my game out too. Like I know for example, like if I'm paired with Wally, I'll have more of a green light to be more offensive and jump in the rush. Mm-hmm. But if I'm like with a guy, like let's say if I'm ever on the ice with like Bond or like even Weber, like I know maybe to be a little more conservative, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know. Honestly, I've had a lot of fun just kind of playing with all the guys and being able to play both sides too.
Gotcha. Let's go back to December 16th. I'm pretty sure you remember that day. First pro goal.
Yeah.
It was the fourth goal of the night. Talk to me a little bit about that goal. What did you see? Obviously, Logar got you the puck and everything. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, I just remember that game, like, kind of nothing was going on, and I didn't feel the best. And Josh Fletcher kind of looks at me on the bench. He's like, dude, like, just go for a rush. Just take the puck and go.
Yeah.
So I remember we had, I think it was a face-off in the neutral zone. He won it. I carried the puck into the offensive zone, and they all kind of got jumbled up, and I just saw Logs walk through 4 guys and just crept back door, and he fed me, and yeah, next thing I knew, the puck was in the net, and it was just kind of like a big sigh of relief because, you know, I've had my opportunities before and just didn't get it yet, and when it happened, it felt good.
Then obviously you got your second goal just a couple weeks ago, and that was against the River Sharks and everything. Talk to me a little bit about that goal.
Yeah, I mean, that one was just kind of like a good one-timer play. Like, I saw I was on the ice with Stone, and again, like these days I don't usually play with Stone, but I was just like, hey, I'm going to take a one-timer off the draw, and same thing, Kirk's won it back clean. Utro gave me a good pass right in my wheelhouse, and it was just kind of like a really nice shot. You know, like every day after practice, we play this game called Juice Boy. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it's like a one-timer game where you have to like hit 2 one-timers in a row from the point, and you can only hit the net for it to count.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just been something me and the boys have been working on for the past couple of months, and you know, now I kind of feel confident to take that shot.
And that's an important thing. Confidence is very important. Did you start the season with a lot of confidence, and it's kind of grown over the season, or did you not have a lot of confidence and it grew over the season? I should probably really phrase it that way. What's your confidence been like so far this season?
I'd say it's been pretty good. You know, again, being a D is so funny. Like, I know I'm obviously not a guy that's relied on to put up a ton of points, but at the end of the day, like, I'm still out there from like 15 to 20 minutes a night. Like, I still have to do my job and be good defensively, be hard to play against, and help offensively any way I can. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like we've been so good that like everyone's been getting their licks in, so it's kind of hard like not to be confident. I mean, I'd be lying if I'd say like, yeah, I don't care about like how many points I have, like whatever. It obviously would be nice to have more points, but like so far, like I felt pretty good about my game. Like, I'd say a guy in my situation specifically, like I just have to be good defensively, hard to play against, and everything like over that's just kind of like a bonus.
You're a plus 18 this year. A good portion of the team has a very strong plus minus. How much pride do you take into making sure that when you're on the ice, the other team's not scoring?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of everything, you know, like you're a defenseman, that's kind of your job. So, yeah, it's just any way I can help out my goalies to prevent a goal from happening, it's a good thing.
All right, so I've asked pretty much everybody this. I probably know the answer, but I want to get it from you anyways. What is the goal for this team this year?
It's a championship.
Flat out.
You know,
Flat out, it's a championship. You guys are thinking talking about a championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you know, like at the beginning of the year, like when we got off to a hot start and stuff, it's just we knew we had the like group of guys or the potential to do it, and like now as we inch and inch further in the season, like yeah, it's just we have the skill. Like, we have everything laid out in front of us to do that job. So, yeah, it's just anything. It's a championship, and honestly, anything less of that is kind of unacceptable, in my opinion, if you ask me.
No, absolutely. Totally understand. Talk to me a little bit about the fans here in Binghamton. They've been very supportive of you guys. You guys just had 2 sellouts this past weekend on Friday and Saturday night. Can you talk about the fan support here in Binghamton?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, after we played our home opener against Elmira and not being used to playing at home, I just remember kind of thinking about just being out there and playing in front of that crowd, and it's I don't think I've ever done that. Especially it's just so surreal that we get to do it at this level.
Yeah.
That we do, being in the Fed. But yeah, other than that, it's just, it's always good, just seeing, people support, through practice, the support we get from the boosters, and yeah, we're always signing autographs, people are always, wondering how we're doing. I think the thing that blows my mind the most is, having someone spend $500 on a jersey you wore, 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's just something I've never experienced before, and it's just kind of surreal. We get treated like a higher level hockey team than kind of being in the Fed. We're spoiled for being in Binghamton compared to other teams for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. So, what's the toughest arena to play in outside of Binghamton?
I don't know. We've played really good hockey in Danbury, and then obviously there have been a couple games that we let slide in Danbury as well. So that's kind of the obvious one. But Watertown plays really good in their rink too. Again, it's so different when they come to us and then we go there because their rink's so small.
Right.
It's more of a meet and grind muck type of game, and then when we play them in Binghamton, it's more of a skill and possess type of game.
So there is and you think that's because of the rink size?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. If you're in a rink where you have more kind of time and space to make plays and decisions, and just picking your head up for a split second and make a play rather than just kind of chucking it around, yeah, I'd say it definitely makes a little bit of a difference.
Awesome. LA, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and it was a pleasure to get to know you and get to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
And this is the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.